Hi, here is the single most important thing I can tell you about being good at Siebel. Understand the architecture, not just to pass a certification, but because when something breaks in production, and it will break, the person who knows the architecture is the one who finds the problem in 10 minutes, while everyone else is still guessing. In this lesson, we are going to cover the 3-tier architecture of Siebel CRM. By the end, you should be able to draw it from memory, label every component, and explain exactly what happens when a user logs in. This knowledge underpins everything else in this course. Siebel's 3-tier architecture consists of the presentation layer, what users see, the application layer, where the logic runs, and the data layer, where everything is stored. Let me take you through each one. The first tier is presentation layer. This is the user's entry point. The user opens their browser, could be Chrome, Firefox, Edge, any browser you want, and they type the Siebel URL. That request hits a standard web server. In most enterprise environments, this is Microsoft IIS on Windows or Apache on Linux. Now, here the Siebel specific piece installed on that web server is something called the SWSE, Siebel Web Server Extension. This is a plugin. Think of it like a module you install on the web server. Its job is to recognize Siebel requests and route them to the application layer. SWSE does not process any business logic. Web request comes in, SWSE grabs it, packages it, and forwards it to the next tier. The second tier is the application layer. This is the brain of Siebel. There are two key components. First, the Siebel Gateway Server. Think of the gateway as the registry of your Siebel environment. It knows every Siebel server that exists, what services each one is running, and whether those services are healthy or not. When SWSE forwards a user request, it first asks the gateway, which server should handle this? The gateway responds with the best available option. Then we have the Siebel server itself. This is where your Siebel application actually runs. The Siebel server hosts what we call object managers. Each object manager is a process that loads your Siebel configuration. We call that the SRF, the Siebel repository file, and handles user sessions. When you log into Siebel and start navigating, you are connected to an object manager. The OM reads your requests, applies your configuration and business logic, queries the database, and returns data to your browser. In a production environment at scale, you have multiple Siebel servers, each running multiple object managers. This is how Siebel scales to handle thousands of concurrent users. The gateway distributes sessions across all these processes. The third tier is the data layer. This is Oracle database. Every piece of data in Siebel, every customer record, every service request, every order, every activity lives in Oracle. Siebel has a very specific database schema. Tables are named with the prefix S underscore. So you have as contact for contacts, as orgx for accounts, as servrec for service requests. We will cover the schema in detail in Module 5. But for now, just know that Oracle is the ultimate source of truth for everything in Siebel. Alongside Oracle, you also have the Siebel File System. This is a shared network folder that stores things that cannot easily go in database, like attachments uploaded by users. And the SRF, the compiled Siebel repository file that contains all configuration. All Siebel servers must have access to this shared file system. Now, let me walk you through a concrete example. The login flow. This will make the architecture very real. The user opens their browser and navigates to the Siebel URL. The request travels over the network and hits the web server, let's say Apache server. The web server receives the HTTP request. The SWSE on the web server recognizes this as a Siebel request. It grabs the request and formats it for the application layer. SWSE contacts the gateway server. It says, I have a user who wants to log in. Which server and which object manager should I use? The gateway checks what's available and says, send this to Siebel server 2, for example, object manager instance 5. The request is routed to that specific object manager. And the object manager, it checks the user's credentials against Oracle database. Oracle verifies the username and password or passes it to an LDAP or Active Directory system if SSO is configured. Oracle confirms the user is valid, sends back to the user profile, responsibilities, and default view. The object manager builds the initial Siebel page, your home screen, sends it back through the SWSE and through Apache, and your browser renders it. You are now logged in. That entire journey, browser to Oracle and back, happens in under 2 seconds when the environment is healthy. When something is wrong, it might take 30 seconds or fail entirely. And knowing exactly which step failed is what separates a great Siebel admin from someone just staring at an error message. Let's recap the 3 tiers. Tier 1, presentation layer, browser, web server, and SWSE. Tier 2, the application layer, which is the gateway server and Siebel server and object managers. The data layer, which is Oracle database and the shared file system. In the next lesson, we go deeper into each component. We will look at where they are all installed, how to check their status, and what files they use. This is essential knowledge for both developers and admins. Thank you.